Hope you
And
enjoyed this 20-minute podcast.
that's right. Yes, 3-part, 5 minutes each.
That's right.
YouTube Shorts coming soon.
YouTube Shorts.
20 episode arc.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Heroes Peak podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and we're here to talk entertainment, culture, and whatever the hell we feel like. And what the hell we feel like this week is we're talking Spider-Man, No Way Home, and only Spider-Man No Way Home. And with me to do this, I've got three wonderful co-hosts. We're going to start at the end with our fisherman, Mike. When are you heading out to catch the crabs there?
Arr.
What? Okay.
No, I get it. Sometimes it's cold in Canada, especially now.
Hey.
Yeah.
Never
Next we have who went out and bought a shirt just for this show. It's James. How you doing, James?
What's going on, man? Last week of the year. Let's get this. Let's go.
It's actually, you know what?
Last podcast week of the. It's our last podcast week of the year. Not technical last. Damn it.
All right, and finally, surprisingly, having done homework, it is Brooksy, and here with the correct homework done for the discussion. Amazing.
I know. Not only did I watch Spider-Man, but I watched the previous two Spider-Mans with this specific Peter Parker.
Man, you just
I shed a tear when I heard that. When I saw that on the text message,
You did a lot more than I did for this podcast.
It was like season 1 of Clone Wars, and then you watch Mandalorian, and Ahsoka's kicking ass on her own now.
And you're like, what happened?
It's amazing.
It's the same character.
All right, so Spider-Man, No Way Home, huge movie here. So let's go down the list. I made some notes this time, just so because this is a long discussion. This is a long movie with a lot of moving parts, so it's going to take try to keep a little bit of order here tonight to keep us under 14 hours or so. So this is directed by John Watts, who has directed all of the MCU Spider-Man movies and is set to direct MCU Fantastic Four. Now, this is a cast of actors that would make most filmmakers would die for here. A couple cost them out there: Tom Holland, Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch,
Zendala Holland, because the way they're going these days.
I'm going to call out spoilers here, just because we are not pulling back.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
You've heard of this. You've seen this, right? You know what that is.
It is unavoidable. It is your destiny.
Is this not why you are here?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Knock that shit off.
This is not a no spoiler.
Oh, I thought you were about to say spoilers because I said Zendaya Holland and Tom Holland. Like that's not.
I was about to say Andrew Garfield, and I realized we should say spoilers because possibly some people don't know yet.
I give it one more year for Zendaya and Holland, and then Zendaya will be dating Pete Davidson.
What?
Hey, Pete seems to be the magic man in
He's
Hollywood.
collecting Infinity Stones himself.
That's right.
Of Hollywood ladies.
Hey, you go, Pete, man.
One to go.
All right. So Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, Jamie Foxx, Marissa Tomei, J.K. Simmons. There's a lot of awards floating around that cast right there.
Marissa Tomei got that in there too.
Yeah. All right. So a quick description of the movie. Immediately following Mysterio outing of Peter Parker as Spider-Man at the end of Far From Home, Peter Parker attempts to live his life while being hounded by the world. After the news prevents his closest friends from getting into their chosen colleges, Peter elicits the help of Doctor Strange to make the world forget, but instead causes an invasion from the multiverse. So, this movie, surprising everybody, brought in $260 million domestic.
This is the
Domestic
final
only.
numbers. Final numbers, right? Number
Just
2 all
the
time.
USA. That's right. With $600 million worldwide. So domestic numbers
Wow.
make it number 2 of all time behind Endgame, and just slightly edged out Infinity
Like
War.
10 million.
All right, so I'll start off. Here's my first question. I'll go to each one of you, and you'll answer for me. So I'm gonna ask you first. What were your expectations walking into this movie? You gotta have to take into account previous Spider-Man movies, all other Spider-Man movies, because this links to all other Spider-Man movies. The current MCU, spoilers, trailers, everything you saw. Like, what did you go in thinking? Like, this was going to be huge. This was going to be messy. This is going to be stupid, cheesy. Like, where were you at heading into this movie, Mike? I'm going to let you go first.
No, I was, yeah, of course I was excited for this, man. This is the one I was looking forward to. All the multiverse rumors, blah, blah, blah. Doctor Strange, right? All the enemies coming through, and another MCU movie in the works. So I was really excited, and it beat my expectations. That's for sure.
All right, Brooksy, being a new to the Spider-Man universe in the MCU, what were your expectations when you go into this?
So I was curious to see where the story was going because, like I said, I just watched 1 and 2. I figured that, like, I don't know. I figured that Spider-Man was going to graduate from like the neighborhood Spider-Man to like, the next level, whatever that is. And we saw the movie in 3D, so I always have like fairly high it was awesome in 3D. So I usually have fairly high expectations for 3D as far as like the visual effects. And those did not disappoint.
All right, James.
I think we mentioned this probably a year ago when we talked about Into the Spider-Verse. I was hoping there'd be a live action version of that. And as we knew this movie was being released and we are getting some little leaks here and there, I came in expecting to see maybe not as good a rendition of Into the Spider-Verse, which is hard to do, but like something where the MCU is going to flex and continue on this whole multiverse conversation we're having in Phase 4, and then somehow tie the different Peter Parkers and different villains, like Into the Spider-Verse did really well. And, give us a couple of Easter eggs here and there. So as the trailers kept dropping and we kept talking about these trailers, I was thinking, wow, this is actually going to be, maybe not a B- B movie, might be a B+, A- movie. So, and then Doctor Strange was all of a sudden it started wrapping up to me. So I went on high hopes, especially the last, 72 hours as the reviews are coming in from early advanced screeners. I came in pretty gassed up. So already I had a bias going in. I will admit that I had a bias.
I was the opposite. I was the lowest here on the Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man is not generally my character. Told you guys.
Yeah, you were poo-pooing the movie before it started. Oh,
Yeah,
just old white men.
A bunch of cisgendered white dudes.
Only old white guys.
Surprised they're really rich, pretending to be poor, living in Queens.
I thought it was going to be 3 layers of a mayonnaise sandwich. Like, I did not think it was. I really felt it was going to be cheesy and overwrought, and they were.
Oh, I just threw up my mouth here.
And I really didn't have. I mean, the MCU has a minimum expectation for me. I expected good things out of Feige and his, and I've really enjoyed this Spider-Man. I didn't think it was going to be a bad movie. I just didn't think they could pull off what they were trying to do.
You didn't believe the hype that we were getting the last 2 months.
I did not. I absolutely did not. I thought they were going to maybe pop in these guys for like 10 seconds in a joke.
Cameos.
Point to each other and like toss. Like, so
That's fair. No, that's pretty fair.
And we'll see. Obviously by the end of our review, I'll tell you how I actually felt when I came out of it. So, now that we know where we all started, let's get into the movie, the actual review. This will be fun.
Hated it.
So, this movie...
I'm going to be Brooksy tonight. Wait, Brooksy, did you hate it?
I didn't hate it.
Okay, hated it.
Instead of D for doo-doo, D for delicious. I don't know.
All right. Yeah.
D for dandy.
None of those are helping. None of those are helping. All right. So
This is why you don't let the engineer make jokes.
I know you ain't talking dad jokes.
started this directly after the end of the previous movie, Far From Home.
Not even.
Okay.
It kind of started like with
It's
that
literally
ending,
at the moment
Yeah.
the Far From Home ended, with the world finding out that Peter is Spider-Man, and we get kind of an exciting swing around the city where he's trying to get Zendaya to someplace safe. So we start with Peter, his friends, and his family dealing with the fallout of him being outed. You see news cameras come to his apartment, follow him to his apartment. They've got to go move in with Happy temporarily. You see everybody is surrounding his school. We see people protesting him, the back and forth, people loving him, protesting him, loving his friends, hating his friends. You know, that was pretty crazy. We see the Flash Thompson switch. All of a sudden, Flash Thompson. Shout out to Flashpoint being now Marvel.
Yeah,
Marvel
that's
gets to Flashpoint before DC.
before. Yeah.
And
Inside
so this is basically the first third of the movie here, up until they get their rejections from MIT, and Peter decides he needs to make something happen. So how do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about the pacing and the setup of this movie? It wasn't like, boy, we're on rails and we're just moving towards the end. It kind of just took its time. All right, Brooksy, I'm going to give you the shot.
I felt like it was a really slow setup, to be honest. And I don't want to say I can't relate, but it just felt like a teen movie for a second.
Which the first two, you remember watching the first two, really,
Yes.
like the first one specifically, Homecoming, was very much like, this is a teenager. You need to realize it. So,
right. And I was talking about that because I was like, he has so many like teenager problems, and it's just really hard for me to picture him also being a superhero. But the first two set it up that way. This felt like the most teenager of all of the Spider-Man movies. And it wasn't that interesting to me, to be honest. Like I wanted them to speed through that part a little bit.
So it didn't bother you that he was having all this press and News Channel 1, which continues to be at every one of these shows, including Real Life. That didn't bother you that he was getting like harassed, going to school and all that stuff?
I mean, it did, but I felt like they could have, I don't know. I just felt like that part took too long. I mean,
all right, gotcha.
You just didn't.
I
didn't feel excited.
It didn't resonate with you because you didn't quite. That's interesting. I want to know.
It just felt teenagey to me. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah. We're not teenagers anymore. All right, James, go ahead. What did you feel about the pacing? Did it feel like this was required to set up the later themes we would be getting? Like, what'd you feel about this?
I mean, I thought I had an idea until Brooks put the little nugget in my head here. Yeah, see, now I'm thinking about it. Like, maybe they could, maybe they could have condensed it a little bit more. But I'm not going to say that there was extra fat that could have been cut off. I felt like the fact that him going back to school, seeing the whole conversation with the principal, the guidance counselor from the last movie, and our buddy Annabelle Burrius. Yeah, that was just extra comedy that didn't add to anything other than having these guys shine and drop. That's a good point.
Like that was like the only scene with them in the movie, wasn't it?
In this movie, because
they had a lot of scenes.
He basically called him a murderer, and he was like, Mysterio was right, and I thought that was funny, but it's like, that was going for like 2 minutes.
I think it definitely could have been condensed too. The only thing I think it's supposed to be is nobody's agreeing. It wasn't like he walked into school and everybody loved him, and he walked out of school and everybody hated him. He's getting kind of mixed messages everywhere he goes. Like, he's living a life where it's like, shit, Like, some of my teachers love me, some of my teachers are gonna hate me. Like,
Yeah,
this
it
is
was
a
Yeah,
like
weird way to
he
live.
sneaks home and he's like with Zendaya after the beautiful swinging action. Meanwhile, they throw us a little Happy and Marissa Tomei,
Oh, jeez.
having a
That
fling.
was so annoying. Like,
That was creepy.
Yeah.
I
get
didn't.
On
I
the
over
didn't.
it.
second
no,
watch, on the
I
first
was
watch, I
glad
didn't
that
care for it. On
no,
the
the one
second
thing was
watch, I was like, oh, why
one
we?
thing was
Yeah.
I was glad they were just breaking up and being done with it, right? Just like
It just
Yeah,
felt
we
so
didn't have to go
dramatic.
through
Yeah,
that.
Like,
but the intermingling between them walking on what looks like to Tom Holland's Zendaya character, they were getting it on, and then
yeah,
they're realizing, oh no, they just broke up, and then I'm like, oh, this is just filling
yeah.
time.
it felt like the first like part of the movie felt like various different TMZ clips to me.
Yeah, see, I was okay with the post Mysterio consequences of the reveal of Peter Parker.
And the narration right before the credits roll, yes,
I was okay with the what
just
happens to
swinging.
him and what happens to everybody and that whole MIT thing. Yeah, some of it could have been cut out, but all
They
in
could have
all,
probably shaved 10 minutes there, right,
yeah.
Mike?
But that's about it, right? So after that, you're really like you're not developing the story. You're trying to understand the reasons why Peter's gonna go do what he's about to do, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it is really heavy in theme and story setup, and I
yeah,
think sometimes that can feel a little unexciting compared to the rest of it. But I think they could have shaved a little bit, but I think it felt like John Watts. There's a lot of scenes where he said, "We're just gonna let this play out a little bit. We're gonna let it go a little bit long."
But
I
then he's
think.
got to edit it though. That's his job as director. He's got to edit it. I think,
I mean, it's not
and
4 hours,
at the moment
so
of
we
you
give him
watching
that.
it, if you don't realize this is like kind of taking away from them, you don't realize until you watch the entire movie and go back and like, yeah, that part really didn't add anything to the entire
That's
story.
not true. I was very bored in the beginning of the movie, aside from the 3D special effects.
Oof,
Wow.
oof. All right,
Yeah, yeah.
point
I couldn't.
noted.
I hate to say it. I have not been a Happy didn't do anything for me in this
Yeah,
movie.
that part was definitely. Well, we'll get to. I mean, I actually have some nits to pick,
Yeah.
but I actually have some horns to blow.
All right. So the second part is when stuff starts to get moving along. So following Peter really just overwhelmingly realizes that he believes he's the cause of this issue. So he thinks he finds the easy answer, and that's to go to talk to Doctor Strange, who we find out he's not the Sorcerer Supreme, and feels a little not very happy about it. So Doctor Strange agrees to do a spell, and Peter Parker's chattiness screws up that spell. The spell is to wipe the memories. Peter doesn't want everybody, and he starts to nitpick, causes some issues. We get the introduction of Doc Ock, which is a cool scene, and he kind of explains and we start getting a peek into the multiverse. So we're going to go up until the point where Doc Ock is revealed. He sees Peter. They have that little scuffle on the bridge. So that's about as far as we're going to talk about. So how did you guys feel about Doctor Strange in this movie?
Let me go first, if you don't
Yeah.
mind, for this
Go
one.
ahead, James.
So I think we knew Doctor Strange was in this movie. We saw the trailer. I was hoping more of the multiverse impact from the Loki TV show to be kind of like revealed and how it impacted. I know the spell was going to be there. We've seen the commercial for the spell. But I thought because of the fact that Doctor Strange was going to use this spell at the moment where the multiverse was cracked, would have been more dangerous to the spell than straight on Peter saying 6 different times the different characters that he didn't want to forget that he was Peter Parker. And I remember Mike and I were arguing about this during the trailer. Like, I didn't believe this was the real Doctor Strange that we were going to see from the trailer, because the way his mannerisms just seems different. Like, even his jokes seemed different. The Scooby Doo didn't seem like the Doctor Strange that we knew. And then him saying, kind of like off guardish, like, yeah, Wong's the new Sorcerer Supreme because I was with for 5 years. I'm like, yeah, but you're still the most powerful wizard compared to Wong. Like, it's like title and rank. Like, at some point, But this is the part where, again, I felt like, all right, I'm just gonna turn my brain off, see where we go, see the interaction. Doctor Strange is a very powerful character, very lovable character in MCU. Now he's strictly working one-on-one with Tom Holland. Benedict coming back to Tom Holland. Let's see how they go. And I think this, to me, like Brooks's version of how the first stage one was kind of boring. To me, this felt less exciting as I thought it was going to be from the trailers. Like, to me, I was just like feeling there watching people shovel. This is my boring point of the movie, what I'm trying to get at.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, I'm kind of with James there, but there were some humorous moments, of course. Wong is always funny. And then we get to the actual performing of the spell, and everything gets messed up. So I didn't have too much issue with that whole section of the movie. I like seeing Stephen Strange on screen. Benedict Cumberbatch does a great job. So I'm looking forward to the next movie with him. And and like James was saying, we were arguing about if that was the actual Strange, and I always thought it was, so I wasn't worried about it.
You were right.
Yeah. So, but we won't get to that yet.
All right.
With
All right. Brooks,
Yeah.
what did you think of Doctor Strange failed spell?
So that part actually really annoyed me because I felt like if he's going to perform a spell to do something, he's going to make sure it's thorough before just like, oh, you want a spell so no one remembers you? Okay, great. And just like perform it, right?
Ad hoc it, yeah.
Ad hoc it. Yeah, I felt like there was going to be a lot more follow-up questions, like much more of a conversation than just like, cool, I'm going to perform this spell. And that set up the whole rest of the movie. So to me, that part was really like, I don't know. It was just really annoying. It was like,
See,
come
but
on.
we've seen this before with Strange. He has the ability,
The
the
ego.
knowledge, but oftentimes his executions go bad.
Yeah, but we've seen him evolve from that. No. We've seen him evolve
and he would have been fine if Peter hadn't
through
interfered,
Endgame.
Right?
All right. So it seems like this character, and we'll get deep into the next acts. It looked like Strange took some major back steps to help push the Peter Tom Holland story. Some major back steps from this character was taken.
I don't know about
probably
back steps, but he definitely is having Doctor Strange in this point in time in his life is having some issues following the blip. He's not liking that Wong won't give him back the title.
Good point.
I mean, Peter walks into the sanctum and it's snowing, and someone left open a portal, and like, I mean, do you guys remember when Thor and Loki came in, and Strange can kind of be a little, he's straight with it, but he's a bit goofy at times.
right.
Like
Yeah.
he's willing to play a little game or have a little fun. And the quote I liked was Wong was like, "You're gonna do that memory spell," and he's like,
Do you remember the
Do you
pizza
remember
night of whatever?
the party of whatever, and he's
Right.
like, no, and he's
No.
like, yeah, see, it's easy. So I think a little bit of they let Strange do the ego thing. Oh, this is an easy thing. He wants people to forget. I can make him forget. I've got it. What preparation do I need? I got this all set. But he's not prepared to deal with a teenager
With Peter yapping in his ear
who
while
doesn't really think things through and doesn't know what he wants. So he thinks he has a simple request.
Okay.
And so what it felt to me when he wasn't screwing the spell up is that every time Peter asked for something, it changed the spell he was making. So it felt like Peter was literally involved in creating. Like Doctor Strange wasn't saying, I want everybody. He was saying, this kid, whatever this kid wants to forget, that's what should forget. And then the last thing Peter says is, anybody who knows me already should know me. And
Right.
that's the thing that really, it went from, I want Mary Jane and I want Happy and I want this and I want that. Those didn't hurt anything. It was when he said, I want anybody who already knows me to know me.
Anybody who knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah,
Spider-Man.
exactly. But then we start the ramp. This movie started way down here, and then it just starts going. So at this point, Peter,
Like Fast 9 on steroids.
right? Peter hears
Obsessed.
that he can maybe change the fate of his friends by going to catch lady from MIT to plead their case, which he didn't do. He didn't
Great
think
actress, by the way. Great
he
singer.
didn't think things
Little
through,
role.
right?
Yeah.
And Strange is like, you didn't ask anybody. So he gets there to the bridge, and this is when all hell breaks loose as Doc Ock's arms start breaking through the concrete, and a great fun Peter trying to save people, Doc Ock trying to capture Spider-Man, his new suit. They did some cool stuff with the nano suit versus
Mhm.
Doc
It's a
Ock's
nano.
arms.
It's the full nano. Stark tech suit.
The Iron Spider
The
suit.
The Iron
Iron
Spider
Spider.
suit. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and that comes is a cool scene where Doc Ock like threatens Mary Jane, MJ, and then
What
Peter's
did you say?
the legs come
Yeah.
out,
Yeah. And he goes,
and you're
"What
like,
did you say?"
"Ooh,
Yeah. And his eyes dialed in. That was cool.
Mhm.
I
all right."
saw that.
And so we get around to the point where they fight. Peter saves some people, and but the nanobots take over the arms. Fun little way to end that
Bluetooth
brawl.
mode activated.
That's right.
He
What did
got
you guys?
paired. He got paired. It did say paired.
Right.
Yeah, it
I'm
did.
gonna ask you guys, what did you think of Alfred Molina as a whole in this movie, and Doc Ock, the character, as we
Keep
see
getting
him?
them paychecks, Alfred. Keep getting them
Yo,
paychecks.
he did a great job. Yeah,
He-
I don't have much to say about it. He did a great job.
He didn't feel like
Some of
Bruce
his
Willis
lines were
phoning it in.
no. Some of
Out
his
of the
lines were
villains, he was definitely number 2. He
Right.
was not Jamie Foxx phoning that shit in. Alfred Molina was saying, "Hey, I haven't been working for 17 years. I want to earn this paycheck."
Sorry,
yeah.
Mike. Go ahead.
Some of the some of the lines he had were corny, but that's not his fault. He's just
And I'm imagining that. I don't know what he looks like now. That's had to be some CGI on his
They
face.
did some de aging,
yeah,
I think.
most likely.
All right, Brooksy, what did you think of Doctor Octopus? Since you had not seen that character before in film.
I had not. Um, I also liked the bridge fight scene. That was the first scene in the movie where I was like, yes, here we go. There's a fight scene. Yeah, I got excited. It was great in 3D. Yeah, this was my, I'm not gonna say my favorite scene. It wasn't my favorite scene, but it was the first scene that I was like, here it is. This is sort of like what I've been waiting for this movie. And was really interested in like seeing Doc Ock's character further.
I loved it when we already saw this in the trailer, but when he unmasked him and he's like, "You're not
Right.
You're not Peter
You're
Parker.
not Peter
what the
Parker.
hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
Right.
That-
I was really
did turn out
confused
great.
by that. Yeah.
James,
I mean, Chris, obviously this woke the hell out of me up. I went from like the little niche, little dirt nap that I was taking to like, here we go. Like, and then I was really paying attention on the second viewing more so than the first of the Tom Holland's battle sequences, which we'll get into in the third act. Like it definitely shows his involvement from the first, from Civil War through Far From Home, and you see that he's now a little more agile, like he knows how to react even without the Spidey sense. So I was watching the car flips, what he was using to get in, to save the people. It looks like there's evolvement of this character's dynamic sequences, and again, I was glued. Like I was glued to the screen for every moment, right until when the Hobgoblin, which we'll get into next.
And remember in Civil War, Falcon got in some good shots, right, in the terminal, and I don't think that would happen with
no, he would wipe the floor with Captain America now,
Yeah.
Captain Falcon.
what I love about the bridge scene is, and people talk about, no, there wasn't enough swinging for Spidey, but what I love about the bridge scene with this Spider-Man is it shows that he's got a really great control, even in places where he can't go up. He has things he can do with his webs that he can move around. As long as there's objects to stick to, he can do cool stuff.
Yeah, he does that straight propel. He did a couple times in this movie. Only him, not Toby or Andrew Garfield. He just propels himself straight forward like a dart with his web.
Yeah. Andrew did that at the end when he killed his girlfriend, but that's
yeah. Not successfully.
All right, so we get a goblin bomb, and then bam, we're magically teleported back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, where we get a little explanation about what the hell's going on, and that's the multiverse. and we don't know. And we've got a Peter asks if he can get some help, so he brings his friends along, and they're told to Scooby Doo this shit, and they have to go find and collect the bad guys. Did you guys just a quick, not much, just like
Let's
a sentence?
hey, let's go to break first, and then on the other side we'll continue.
Okay, we'll talk about it after break.
We're at
I was
40
gonna
minutes
say
already.
that's probably the part we could just skip. Come on, man. Lizard. That's all we saw. Trash.
I liked Lizard.
What?
All right, so here we are. We start.
That smile on Brooks' face killed me.
We start getting to the introductions of the other characters here. After Doctor Strange tells them about the multiverse, blah blah blah. So we get a quick introduction of Electro and Sandman.
Sandman, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, Church, right? His last name's
Thomas
Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah.
We got you. We got you. We got you.
I wasn't even sure like they actually got the actor because they just kept him.
Yeah, it looked like for
I
a
know,
while
that's what I
they
thought,
were
too.
someone else was doing the voice.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and like I was like,
He still got that paycheck though.
That's right.
He's got the same paycheck Alfred Molina got.
That's right. So we also get Electro, and we start getting the cheesy lines from
Jamie Foxx.
from Jamie Foxx here, and Jamie Foxx did not get the time I expected him to get. He was kind of
Let's
like
talk about this part of the movie.
they just kind of they gave him time, but like nothing meaty. Like Green Goblin got the time, and Doc Ock got the time, but Electro.
Can I expound on this, Chris? I read an
Okay.
article on Variety magazine, real quick, Mike. I won't take too much time. Where Jamie Foxx, all of them were being asked, all the villains, Alfred Molina, Willem Dafoe, what brought them back to the Spider-Man franchise under the MCU banner. And Jamie Foxx's particular interview was like, well, I didn't like how it was perceived in the first movie. And then Amy Pascal from Sony, and John Watson, director, approached me and says, hey, we'll give you a different take. You don't have to be blue anymore. You get to be cool. You've evolved your character, and you get to have like some more speaking time and to redeem your character. And he was like, yeah, and I read the script and I was like, I like where it was going, blah, blah, blah. So to me, it was like, we want Jamie Foxx because we can't get the sick, whatever. Let's bring him in. But he's not going to put that terrible makeover that he had in the movie, Andrew Garfield, with the buck teeth. He's going to be cool looking Jamie Foxx as he is now with the tight fade and a muscle shirt and all that stuff. And he's not going to be blue. And to me, that detracted from the movie because I cannot ignore the fact that this was Jamie Foxx pretending to be a character that he no longer really cared about while being on screen in a multi-billion-dollar movie, probably.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I was glad about the evolution of Electro. I thought he looked better.
But what changed between the moment you saw him in the last movie till now? They never explained what changed for him. He just said, "Ooh, different universe, different powers." He didn't say a new body. He says I'm in a new body, but he didn't. All the other characters were true to where they were at the moment that we saw them in the franchise, except for Jamie Foxx's character.
Yeah, it's definitely a plot hole. Like they don't fill in like why all this is different. But
when I saw the interview, to me, I knew why. He's like, I'm not looking like that bucktooth dude again.
Outside the movie, but in the movie they don't explain it. But
he just says
it still worked for me though. Like I liked that this character Electro more than I did in ASM 2. So
I don't know. I didn't feel like he got anything to do. I felt like all of the strong character scenes were given to other characters.
Yeah.
And Chris, big picture wise, the whole moment of these characters was to redeem him at the end. I don't think what really redeemed him other than taking his electrical power. He looks better than he was before he got killed by Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield. So nothing really changed about him other than he lost his electric powers.
Yeah, no, nothing.
He's still thirsty for but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but Lizard got the worst treatment than he did in the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
worst screen time. And once they took his power
Lizard
away,
was D for doo-doo, as Brooks would say.
Lizard didn't redeem himself either. He just got his power taken away as well, right? And then he was like, I can't do anything now. I might as well sit here and watch. So,
Brooks, you said you liked the lizard because we'll talk. Just he popped in and
She
really didn't
did.
do anything either. What
I
did
did.
you like about that character?
Um, I don't know. I kind of thought he was funny. I mean, he didn't really add a ton of value, and I don't know the backstory at all about the lizard, but
Well, like
I
Ned,
kind of,
like the back and forth with Ned. Like you want to turn
yeah,
everybody lizards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx even made
Mhm.
jokes about that. He goes, "What was
Yeah.
your end game? Turning me to a lizard." Like,
right. He just had like this comic relief that I found funny, and I don't know. I kind of
do
liked
he
him.
remind you of what's his name, Shark from Suicide Squad?
No, he was
Okay, King
dumb.
Shark. Okay,
I
King
love
Shark,
King Shark.
whatever.
King Shark
King
was
Shark.
awesome.
Yeah, King Shark was dumb. Left Shark is dumb, but I liked the lizard.
But the unfortunately Jamie Foxx's Electro kind of leaned more towards the throwaway, the villains that are just supposed to get in the way of the hero, not the main story villains. All right, so the next is kind of the real important meat of the story, and that's where we come into seeing William Dafoe's Green Goblin, but he's not. He's kind of in between, uh, wanting to be Green Goblin still, or he's having that mental episode where he's fighting the Green Goblin
Yeah.
versus
like he did in the original movies. Talk
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
myself in the mirror.
He breaks the mask. Pretty cool scene. Also a upgrade to the character where we don't have the Power Ranger mask anymore. And he he finds Aunt May, and this is scene is basically the crux of this movie. Is uh
Mm.
is Aunt May uh basically feeling for um I'm
Norman.
blanking on his name. What the hell
Norman.
is his name?
Norman
Norman.
Osborn.
Norman Osborn. Thank you.
Yeah.
Norman Osborn.
On this pitiful Norman Osborn, and convincing Peter that the way that what he has to do is not fight these guys but fix them. And that is the crux of this movie. It changes Peter's direction from I've got to capture these guys so Doctor Strange can send them back home and I'm done, to oh shit, now I've really got something to do.
So the big question it was for me was was Norman really trying to be Norman again, or was Goblin just messing around the whole time? Right?
Are we ready for that talk? I thought we were going
And
to push
tricking
that
and
further
trying to trick everybody. Yeah.
in the Spider Tingle talk.
But
Right.
we saw that in the original movie. There was
Yeah.
a scene where Norman is saying he doesn't want to do this anymore, and the Goblin is in the mirror fighting
Yeah.
back. So this is not
Yeah.
completely out of character.
I think
This
there's
is
still
not-
a split person at this moment. I think there's still split personalities.
Yeah, I think
Right.
so. I think so.
Brooks, what did you think of William Dafoe and this Goblin character?
Willem.
Another new character for you.
Willem.
Willem
W-I-L-M-E-N.
Dafoe, not William.
Willem.
I used to do the same thing too all the time.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
That's right.
What did I think of him? I'm trying to think. I probably might have to pause. I think I have to look him up to remember exactly what he looked like.
He's a fantastic guy.
He looks like the Green
I
Goblin.
want to see her reaction when she looks it up like, oh, this mother effer.
He was an
I don't know
Aquaman.
why I can't like his.
Hold on.
He was an Aquaman.
I want this in live reaction as she finally sees the face and it hits her.
Wait, give me a second. Go to something else.
Well, it's like the biggest thing in the movie is that Willem Dafoe. Like
I know, but I have to. I remember him as I have
Norman
to remember him as
Osborn?
as Norman Osborn. Thank you. When
Okay.
he's sitting there in the charity with Aunt May and he's like pretending to be all sad or whatever.
I think he is though.
But I think he is though.
the
That's the point we're
character-
trying to make.
Right.
Like he's not pretending yet at that point.
He's got this. He's got a split personality. One that is like super powered evil, like true evil.
And you know what? It's tough for her because she never saw the original Spider-Man
Right.
movie. Where,
And this is what I'm wondering, because a lot of this movie, especially at starting here, starts to depend a little bit on a little nostalgia and memory of other things that occurred before. Even more than like 10 years of MCU. We're talking 20 years of Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, so
25
there's
years.
a lot of the memberberry stuff in this movie too, right? Which I didn't have a problem with, but this is one in particular. You're right.
So, but
There's
I
some
don't.
memberberry moments.
I just think
sure.
Willem Dafoe did a good job in this part, making you feel like he's the lost puppy. This is the
Right.
lost puppy version, and he did a good job of that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna skip ahead a little bit here and say we capture all the villains, and
By the
then
way,
we.
I loved the dark spider suit when he was
You
going
mean
around.
the
You got
inside out
Electro.
spider
When you got
suit?
Electro.
The inside out spider
Yeah,
suit.
it was Inside
Yeah.
Out. Yeah, because it was
I thought
dirty
that was
on the other side. By the way, I love, again, this is another part of them swinging. This is clearly CGI. But seeing the iPhone, not a Samsung phone,
Right,
That was
right.
funny.
keys,
That was funny.
the iPhone and Zendaya
tape.
and yes, and Ned watching that sequence, I thought it was pretty dope because they're like, I don't know how this doesn't make you throw up.
So we capture them all. We have a interesting conversation between everybody. We get introductions. Why are you alive? Why am I alive? Oh my shit! There's a multiverse. What the fuck's going on here? And that this is for me the best part of the movie, and that's where Peter this under the mental idea of his aunt telling him he's got to save these people, and knowing these people are going to die the moment they're sent back to their universes, decides to run away with our box, our whatever it does, our magic box that sends everybody back.
So this is sine wave, by the way. First we had the little dip, then on the highway we went up, then this little moment's a little dip, and now we're about to go up again.
I did love the scenes, by the way, inside the prison thing, between all the bad guys. I was thinking though, like during these parts, I really miss the Stanley cameo, which would have been perfect somewhere in here.
That's my biggest qualm this entire movie.
Yeah.
No Stanley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't do it. All right, so in order to run away, Peter makes a break for it, and Doctor Strange chases, and now we get Doctor Strange versus Peter in the Mirrorverse, and this is the best visuals, the most exciting, the most interesting.
There we go. This is where Chris has been
entire
thirsty to
movie.
get. He's like, we're going 90 minutes on this.
That's right. This is the best thing, and this tells me that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is going to be the best MCU movie.
All right, before we get to the Mirrorverse, there was a couple quick cool scenes in the fulcrum or whatever they call it, the dungeon place of
The prison.
him escaping, and then there was some right across from Sanctum Sanctorum. There was some interesting visuals and fight scenes with the portals and Peter using his webbing and the cape.
Yeah,
like,
that was cool.
Like there was a lot of that little. That was like
the part of it.
Amuse de bouche, as they say. The appetizer before you get to the entree of the Mirrorverse.
It is not an appetizer. It is a palate cleanser.
Thank you for correcting me. I'm sorry. I did like that scene.
And that leads into the Mirrorverse, where Doctor Strange is like, you got trains going through the center of the city, and the city doing the Inception fold over, and things are moving around. This is fun and interesting, but the best part about this is that Peter Parker, as a scientist, figures the shit out and figures out how to use his webbing in the geometry of the Mirrorverse. And I was like,
yeah, that was great. Fantastic.
Chris, I gotta jump on this real quick because I've listened to a lot of podcasts and I've listened to some of them are trolls, but people are complaining how Peter Parker could have bested Doctor Strange in one particular instance. People forget in the comics that Peter Parker is a very talented genius in his own right.
Yeah,
he went to Midtown High, eventually went to a pretty smart college. So he's not a smart dummy kid. I'm gonna say smart. He's not like a kid who's just barely getting grades and he's able to figure out Pythagorean's theorem or the Archimedes spiral. No, like that's like basic stuff for him. So when he realized
geometry, I know geometry.
Yeah, and the thing is, Spider-Man in the comics and even the old TV show, he was quick thinking, to be able to solve things. He was like a Batman light, a version of that where he can quickly theorize something mathematically, scientifically, come up with a solution. So this is, in my mind, out of all three movies, this is the first time they're showing you Tom Holland's Peter is able to think like a mathematician,
right,
and realize, okay, I know how to get out of this trap, and not rely on Stark technology or any of that stuff. To me, this is when I was starting thinking, yes, we're getting there, like a true Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Yeah, we've seen him do a lot of chemistry. The fact that he built his web shooters and all that, that's all smart
That's canon in the comics already. Nothing
Yeah.
new.
But it's smart mathy kid that's
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
It's not new, but this is like in action in a surprise environment that he doesn't know, and he figures something out that this guy who's really smart, but he's a medical doctor. Like math isn't necessarily his forte. He doesn't understand where Peter goes. Oh,
And he's
I
not
get
even using
that.
his scientific mind for that. He's using his magical sight,
Right.
his
He's using
artistic
his
mind.
the mystic
Yeah,
arts,
the
right?
mystic arts.
Yeah.
And also, before I just want to bring up when he knocks Peter out of his body, and then Peter's body
Oh,
is
how did we
doing
skip
the
that?
creep away,
Yeah,
and he's like, "This isn't possible." Like the spider sense
spider
automatically
sense.
moving the body. It was a great scene, top to
That was
bottom.
dope. I give it that top. I give it that top 5 of 2021. Top 5 2021
It
of
is
best moments in comic book scene. Best scene in
comic book action scenes in
Yeah.
2021. It is my top one.
Yeah.
All right.
It's my number 5.
So, unless anybody has anything specific to say, we are going to move on to what we're getting to the conclusion, which is Peter and his friend. Peter tries to cure the villains, and at a last minute,
Takes him to the hotel.
it takes him to the hotel. Actually, helps fix Doc Ock, but at the last minute, Goblin takes over and blows shit up. And Jamie Foxx is like, "Yeah, no, I like being powerful." He
I like
jabs.
looking cool. I like this tight fade.
That's right.
Isn't that Happy's house?
Yes,
Yes.
Happy
Yes.
Hugger has a
That
house.
was Happy's condo.
His condo.
Because
Yeah.
even Jamie Foxx, of course, Jamie Foxx had to. Yeah, the whole movie was just Jamie Foxx.
'Cause you
At
said-
least. Go ahead.
I like the condo look, off the water, blah blah blah.
No, you said hotel, so I was making sure that
Yeah, it's a
It's a
condo.
Oh, my
I
bad,
was in
my
the
bad.
right part of the movie.
It's a
Yeah.
high-rise condominium.
Yeah, high rise, whatever. All right, now the next is another like the most important scene to Spider-Man overall because we get an Uncle Ben.
Wait. There's one big moment out of that whole sequence that we can't skip. It's the spider sense realizing that Norman Osborn, because we talked about it a little bit at the beginning. At what point did we feel like Norman Osborn was no longer Norman Osborn? So I think during the lab building of Peter, Ned, actually not Ned, sorry.
No, it's
There
just
was
Peter
just Marissa Tomei and I'm sorry,
Mhm.
Aunt May, Peter, and then the villains. They're all working on possible solutions. He brought out the Tony Stark equipment, which I'm like,
Right.
oh man, just when I thought I was done with Tony Stark, they brought him back in. No, they brought that part in, and then Jamie Foxx is like, ooh, what is that? Like, I sense something. He senses Tony's arc reactor, which is more powerful. Yeah, that's the most powerful thing he's ever sensed because that doesn't exist in his universe.
Right.
But when Doc Ock, after he gets cured, is talking to Norman. Norman looks like, at first in the second movie, I'm trying to see, is he painting? Like, what is he doing? He's not even working on any like science solutions. I think at that moment, that was the Goblin taking over of Norman's body and pretending that he was still Norman. Because there was a conversation that Doc Ock had with them, like, don't we want to be changed or whatever it was, and he said some weird, I wish I memorized it, response back to him, and then seconds later Peter's walking around and then it just stops and then everything blurs out and the sound goes down
and Peter's like, what?
And then like a tunnel vision of you just looking at Peter as the audience. To me, that was an interesting take on the Peter Tingle, whatever you want to call it, Spider Sense.
Will we please call it Spidey Sense? It's
We'll call it the comic books.
Peter
The
Tingle.
comic books.
Tingle.
I hate Peter.
No,
Tingle.
but Brooks, if you read the comic books, it's not called that. So yes, the Spider
That's what Aunt May
Sense.
calls it, the Peter Tingle.
She's
Isn't that
dead now,
what
so
MJ calls
Rest
it?
in peace, Aunt May.
that's
Wow,
why she
spoiler
died.
alert.
She's now a saint. It's Saint
That's
May.
why she died, because she called it Peter Tingle.
It's Saint May.
All right. So it's a really cool scene. It's a really cool.
It is phenomenal scene, and I think it ties back to the Norman Osborn character at that moment.
And it basically kicks off the last just freight train of a movie as it goes from here, because we get one of the best Peter fight scenes. It's a little dark, A little hard to follow because they're going through walls. A lot of shit's happening. But some of the best, most powerful moves I've seen from a Spider-Man is
Toby's looking at you side eye.
No, that flip where he takes and shoots the
You
at the
love the
floor
WWE moves, and you love yes, that was cool.
and
That
friggin'
was cool.
plows him through the concrete floor, and he does the Black Widow, and he's punching him
He
in the
did
face.
that, and then William Dafoe looked at him laughing like.
Okay, that was brutal. That was brutal all around. It was great. It was
brutal.
fun to watch. It was getting you going. And then they did what I thought impossible. I was like, no way, this is never gonna happen. And they did it. They gave us the Uncle Ben moment, but they gave it to Aunt May, and it just changed the entire game. It just
All right. So again, me of the listeners of many other pods, one trolling pod was saying why another female character has to die to make another male character stronger.
yeah.
And I'm like, but we've seen this
Compared to who?
traditionally from the male version. No, they're just saying Aunt May, Marisa Tomei. She's the only. There's only two female leads in this movie, Zendaya and Marisa Tomei.
Yeah.
So why would you use the other two strong female character, have her die just to strengthen the main protagonist?
He had Tony.
Hey,
Tony
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, I know, but I'm saying, I'm thinking out loud. He had Tony, but in this one, he didn't really have a strong male character. So who else was going to die?
Well, okay,
Right?
I'm just gonna put it this way.
But
This
go
is
on, go
called
on. Never mind.
what they're arguing about is the idea of fridging.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you,
Okay,
Chris.
Brooksy, do you know what fridging is?
I
Okay.
don't.
Fridging is the idea that there's a woman character who her whole purpose is to die to forward the man character's story, but it's because it's based on a comic where like Green Lantern's girlfriend got shoved in a fridge, killed and shoved in a fridge by some enemy, whatever. But the point of that is the woman character has nothing else in the story that makes her important but her death. Whereas
Right.
this Aunt May is literally the most important character to Peter outside of
life, right?
in his life. She
Yeah.
has been in she's been in 3 movies.
Yeah.
And her death taking over for where Uncle Ben has died.
And Civil War, 4 movies.
Right. Where Uncle Ben has normally been this character, which you could call he's generally fridged. It's his lot.
Yeah,
life.
but there's no term for that as the guy, the older guy.
Right, but I mean, it's this idea. She is an important character, and her death is more than just to forward his story. Her life forward.
It's a real concern. I've read many sites, and it's a real concern.
I do not think this is fridging because she had a full character arc, and she had a purpose beyond just her death. So this is really important. Number one, it separates MCU Spider-Man, who we were like, why doesn't he talk about Uncle Ben? Why doesn't he ever mention it? Basically, this is this different Spidey's world.
Yeah, and this version
gets to the same place, but in a slightly different manner. We've seen Uncle Ben. This is
powerful scene. And by the way, I realized that this was a PG-13 movie in Disney Marvel, so they couldn't show exactly the fact that maybe her back was broken and her spleen was hanging out. Well, but they made it seem like she walked up. She was like, "Oh, I just got the wind knocked out of me."
Well,
whatever she said.
She was bleeding, so I imagine she was stabbed by the glider.
Yeah, but they showed a full body figure, her in a beautiful onesie, by the way, she was wearing. The jumper. They showed a full figure of that, and you didn't see anything until she kind of like crunched down and passed down.
He was touching her back, and he pulled out.
Yeah, you saw the blood, but then you saw her back too. I remember because on the second viewing, I was looking at her beautiful onesie jumper. And there's no marks of anything other than dirt in the back.
Ah, that's weird.
So the point I'm trying to make is, I think I think it's awkward that they didn't show us the actual death move, but they allowed you as an audience to realize it was happening. And then Tom Holland had to emote the hell out. Him and Marisa Tomei, both of them. On the second viewing, I gave her more credit because her still face, that one teardrop on her right cheek. Same thing happened in my right cheek, teardrop.
We'll do one more thing, then we'll do a quick break, and then we'll finish off. So, the next big scene is the introduction, and this was the one that caused the cheers across the land.
Oh, are we doing this now? Oh.
Was
I was gonna wait. I was gonna say
You
let's
should
do
do
it
a
on the
break
other
for
side
that
of the
one,
break.
dude.
Yeah, let's do it on the other side
Yeah,
of the break.
dude. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I gotta agree with Mike on this one.
I'm not gonna want to stop once we get into that. So
Yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
that's the heart of the movie.
On the
yeah,
other side of the break, we will talk about the introduction of you know who,
somebody,
somebody.
Somebody's.
a player to
Somebody's
be named later.
well, because Christmas hasn't happened yet.
Sorry.
Not in this universe.
Speaking of multiple universes,
Where's my Star Spangled Banner Statue of Liberty?
we move into the scene that probably is what earned this movie $260 million of 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds wanting to see.
Cisgendered. What did you call him?
Cisgender white guys came out in full force
The mayonnaise patrol really came right out
with their KN95s.
All right.
Masks.
Anyway, without insulting the audience, no. What really happened was,
Sorry, guys.
Ned learns to randomly figure out the sling ring. He's wanting to find Spider-Man or Peter Parker. He was wanting to find Peter Parker, and he does. He finds two Peter Parkers. We find Andrew and Toby, and the crowd went nuts when these guys appeared.
First of all, shout out to Filipina Tagola being spoken first time in a major movie. For all of my Filipino friends from New York, New Jersey, family member friends as well, that was tough.
Look, there is nothing better than her saying something, and then Ned going, "Can you get the spider web up in the corner?"
Up in the corner.
She was actually one of my favorite parts, just because I thought it was.
That whole scene was good. All right, what did you guys think of the introduction of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as the Spider-Man?
Time out.
Yeah. What?
How did we skip over Matt Murdock?
I thought you said we were in a hurry, Mike.
Oh.
Matt Murdock had 10 seconds.
That was back in the boring part one.
I cheered when I saw Matt Murdock on screen.
Yeah. Real quick. Way back in the boring part one that we talked about. Matt Murdock was chosen as the lawyer to represent Peter, and not only did he had actual lawyerish talk, legalese talk, like it was SVU, but he also had a little dynamic action sequence where a brick came through Aunt May's apartment.
How cool was that?
They show Peter about to catch it, but before that even happened, Matt caught it. Shout out to
a really good lawyer,
Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox, who remains to be one of my favorite. Him and John Berthold, man.
Yeah. Man, if we get Punisher in the MCU, that's gonna be
great. Dude, I've been binging those two shows.
Someone said he wants to be Punisher, but he doesn't want it
PG-13.
PG'd. Okay, so the introduction of the Spider-Man. I'm gonna start with Brooks. Being that you don't have a connection that a lot of the geeks watching this movie had the connection and cheered. Did you have cheering in your cinema? Did you at least think it was interesting that all of a sudden there's these Peter Parkers like, I'm Peter Parker, I'm Peter Parker, blah, blah, blah.
So I'm going to be totally honest. So yes, when Ned did the whole thing and opened up the portal.
Wax on, wax off.
Yes. And whichever, the first one, not Tobey Maguire, the other one. Andrew, thank you.
Garfield.
Was revealed. The whole theater went crazy. And I had to lean over to my boyfriend and say, why is everybody excited? I had no idea the significance at all, to be totally honest. And then he was like, oh, he was Spider-Man before. And I was like, okay, well then why is he back? I don't understand. I wasn't, I know, it's really bad. Then
why
I
are you wasting my time with these old people?
Wait, he's Spider-Man before, and then why is he here?
Right, so why is he here? So then I was starting to put together the multiverse situation. He's Peter Parker from another universe.
So you didn't understand that the villains are also from other universes either, did you?
Not entirely. I got that they were from another universe, but I didn't get that they were from another Spider-Man series.
Mike, What'd you think?
So yeah, in my theater, you could tell who the true fans were because, like I said, when Matt Murdock came on the screen, probably about 5 of us cheered, and then when
Netflix accounts.
yeah, and then when Andrew, it's not just Netflix account, people who actually said, "Oh, I'm gonna check this Daredevil show out," right?
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
true. That's true.
and then when Garfield came through the portal, I think about 40% of the theater was like, "Woo!"
Mhm.
So I think the other half was probably like the kids who were like, "I have no idea who this guy is," right? So
Is he in a video game? Did I miss a video game package?
right.
Yeah, no.
But that
No,
was
Well,
great. That was a great moment for me, especially when he had to prove to them that he was Peter
He
Parker.
was
They were
hanging
like,
on the
"Oh yeah,
ceiling. This is
how do we
enough.
know you're not a
This
bad
this is
guy?"
see, I think my family, the first viewing I had, represents all three because I was a Tobey Maguire. Serena cried and loved every moment of Andrew Garfield. She couldn't freaking. And then Eric was like, "Okay, I've seen all three, but I like Tom Holland the best because he's the younger one." So
Andrew surprised me. His acting throughout this movie, if Tom Holland wasn't putting his all in, which he did, this movie, he carried it really well. Andrew could have easily stolen the show.
Andrew came for the bag. You could tell.
Yeah, he did a
Like
good job.
we
By the
joked
way,
earlier about Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina. I think William Dafoe and Andrew Garfield, those two came for all the chips and marbles. They
yeah,
were like, "Give me this fucking script, put some hot sauce on that shit,
Right.
and I'm gonna go." Those two, Goblin and Andrew Garfield Spider Man, were going all out.
And so this scene on the rooftop, we're gonna move quickly to where the three Spider-Men meet, where Tom Holland's Spider-Man is sad because Aunt May's dead. He wants revenge. He's in his worst place. And this scene is what I was worried would fail. I did not really trust that this scene was going to happen well, and I was wrong, 100% wrong. They pulled off the "we understand your pain" scene, and we are going to help you. Like, this scene made the movie. This could have broken it for me, but it actually made the movie work for me. Brooks, I'm going to go to you first because you don't have a connection to the other two Spider-Men, but could you feel the emotion between them sharing their loss, the where Tom Holland was in at this moment, and how the other two were able to say, "Look, we can connect with you, and we can help you move forward." What'd you think about this scene?
I I didn't feel it the way you guys probably did. I know. I always
It's
feel
okay.
bad
No,
saying
No,
it.
no, no, no.
this
fine.
helps balance. No, this helps balance. No, this
No,
is
but
go
it's
ahead.
understandable
Here's
if
the
you don't have a connection to the other movies. Then
right.
obviously, right?
No,
So
no. Finish,
I
finish
haven't.
your point.
Well,
yeah,
I haven't seen the other movies. I also just looked up and saw that Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst also dated when they were making Spider-Man. I
Something
did
about
not
that
realize
spider
that.
Mm.
suit. Something about that spider
Something
suit.
about the
Sexy.
spider suit. I just okay. I don't know if I'm supposed to save this part for the end, but I just started feeling like it was like a trick that the MCU is playing because like creating this whole multiverse thing where it's like you have this Spider-Man series and it plays itself out. Then you have another Spider-Man series and it plays itself out. It's like a creative way to bring the Spider-Man series together and keep it going. It just felt like
We're
well,
getting to
yeah,
the end
you're
commercialized
not
there.
wrong.
Yeah,
You're
we're
or
not
getting to the
wrong.
end. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
yeah, and I just
But
like couldn't get over that. I was like, "Oh, this is just a creative way to get like to make more money." Really.
no,
That's
but
just like
here's the
Hey,
thing.
it worked. In a way, there's kind of a churning thing, but Spider-Man is also the most popular. He fights basically against Batman to be the most the to be the most popular superhero. All right, so this is once we have the Spider-Men, once they're together, we have a cool science scene. Everybody wants a science scene with
I love
Spider-Man.
that shit. Yeah.
A lot of good
An actual high school lab.
yeah, a lot of good comedy bits in there. A lot of emotional connections between them. All very well done.
the scene where they're asking, great scene about asking Toby about his biological webs.
Yes.
Goes to there.
So you know how in the beginning of the movie we said, and mostly Brooks and I agreed, that the first part, all the dialogue was a lot of filler.
Right.
I thought all of this dialogue was needed to
Yes.
flesh out a lot of shit. The opposite of the first part of the movie.
And then Toby talking about his back pain again.
Yes.
That was crazy.
And do you have a best friend in your universe? Yeah. He died in my arms after he tried to kill me. Yo, that's fucking true. It is deep.
But it's not better dialogue than what was in the beginning, but it's more interesting
It's more
because
interesting,
All
right?
right, good point. Yeah.
you know,
It's not
these
better
char-
written. It's just
It
more
connects
interesting.
better.
Right.
Connects
The other
better.
one is building relationships within this universe. This is a surprise. Oh, cool. These are guys comparing. They're the same, but they're different. They have these differences.
He's like, did you have a Gwen? Well, my MJ was Gwen, and
Yeah.
didn't work out.
So
And
MJ, just a quick note, MJ was supposed to be in ASM 3. Because Gwen died, he was
So
supposed
Brooks
to be
needs to know this, because Brooks was not going to understand why in the final act, why probably the biggest, most iconic moment,
Man,
why
that was
it may not
good.
resonate with Brooks because she probably didn't.
So what Mike's
she
gonna
didn't see
do
that
is
movie.
he's gonna play a little video of Gwen Stacy falling and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man diving to catch her until he catches her at the last second, but it snaps her
dies.
neck and she
No,
dies.
She hits her head on the concrete.
She hits her head on the concrete.
Oh, sorry. In the comic, she snaps her neck. But
Yeah,
the snaps the neck.
That's
So
right.
she fails to save his version of MJ. So
Right.
So
this
that scene, like, you don't get it because it's a scary. I didn't think they were gonna do it, and they showed it happen. And then Emma Stone acted the hell out of her neck getting spat.
My theater cheered when he saved MJ. By the way,
so
my theater cheered too.
Yeah,
You could tell that there was more to it. Definitely.
And Serena cried. Oh, that's the second time
and
she
that's
cried.
Andrew's acting. Like when he stopped and she says, "Are you okay?" She says to him,
Are you okay?
That was a good turnabout.
Because that was his redeeming scene. But
so as everybody can tell, we've gotten to the final battle where the 3 Spider-Men versus all the bad guys, and they've created the cures for the bad guys, and they go into battle and they do okay, but then they're not great. They have to become a team. They have to believe in each other and use their spider tingle.
I've never thought
Stop it. Just give up again. Tom Holland's character showing involvement from all the previous freaking movies. He played with Cap, Tony. He went to Titan with Guardians. He was the most battle-tested Spider-Man out of Tobey Maguire, who's as grizzled and old and powerful. Andrew Garfield, who's fast, young, and Tom Holland's version showed that he's been through shit. He's fought Thanos, and he's like, you know what? Listen, we need a plan. This just not working. I'm Spidey 1, you're Spidey 2, you're Spidey 3. This is what we're gonna do. Trust your senses. We're gonna take them one by one, and they're like, yeah, good idea. Like to me, I love that moment.
Is that a band?
Is that a band? Great. What is that? Are you in a band?
So they do a good job. They take out Sandman, Lizard. They get through all that. The important part at the end here is the Green Goblin comes back, and Doc Ock comes back, but Doc Ock is actually a good guy. It was a great little twist. But the final battle is Green Goblin versus Tom Holland Spider-Man, and they get in a great fist fight. It's a fun. It's a pretty emotional battle, and Tom is about to kill him, and I love this scene so much.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire, who in his universe, Green Goblin is killed by the being stabbed by his own glider.
In his version of the movie.
Yeah, he stops Tom Holland and saves Green Goblin and Tom Holland. He saves them both basically by stopping him from killing him. It's a great scene.
It's
very
a superb
emotional
scene. Tom Holland, who had not that much moment other than like, yeah, my Uncle Ben too. Whatever. When he's holding the glider and his eye acting, which to me only Elizabeth Moss from Handmaid's Tale could top. His eye acting was when he's looking at him. He didn't shake his head. He didn't say no. He just looked at him in his eyes and goes, "You don't want to do this. You don't
Right.
want to
It
go
was
down
a
this road."
great.
And you can see Tom Holland looking back at him, the tears in his eyes. He's like, "This dude killed my Aunt May," and he was just like, "Oh," and he just like dropped it. I'm like, that was again. This is
Yeah.
what this part of the movie makes up all the little ebbs and flaws earlier in
Yeah.
the movie.
So, real quick, one of the parts I really loved in this act was when each Spider-Man met up with their respective villain, and they had their little conversations. Like when Toby met up with Doc Ock again, and they were like, "Oh,
Hey, Peter,
the only
you're
thing
grown up.
the only thing I missed, I wished Ock had said Peter Parker brilliant but lazy again."
Yeah, but he was like, "I've seen you grown up." He goes,
Yeah.
I'm doing my best." Something like
Mhm.
that. That was great.
And then the one scene with Garfield and
And
Electro.
so Jamie Foxx, who was
Yeah.
shitting, he was just like, he was in a green room somewhere, fucking doing his role. He goes, a kid saving, the poor in Queens. Kind of thought you were black. And Andrew Garfield looks at him like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." He goes, "I'm sure it's a black Spider-Man." That was the only other part that got like a loud, rousing ovation because everybody knew it was Miles Morales. Spoiler alert for folks who hasn't watched the animated Into the Spider-Verse. There is a black Hispanic Spider-Man. So that crowd got crazy at that moment.
Yep.
Jamie
But
Foxx
no,
was like,
Brooks, it's not about crack in the '90s, so I don't know how much
no,
I'd be interested.
he's in a good part of
Yeah.
Queens, like the pretty upper middle class part of Queens.
No, seriously. So did Brooks? Did you feel the emotion in these moments where the Spider-Men were saving each other, saving bad guys? Like, did you feel that going on? Did that work for
I
you?
definitely did feel that. I will say I did feel that. I could tell, like I said, with whichever Spider-Man that was that saved Zendaya, like you could tell there was a
Andrew
bigger
Garfield.
Andrew.
She
You could tell
agrees.
there was a bigger moment attached to that, right? And in that very end, you could tell there were bigger moments attached to what was happening. I just didn't. I was not familiar with them, but everybody in the theater was very familiar. My boyfriend was really excited about it. He kept trying to explain it to me. So, but you felt that and you got that, and they did a very good job of conveying that, even if you were like me and hadn't seen the other Spider-Mans.
All right, Mike.
Oh yeah, I mean that whole man. I was so emotional through that whole thing because it was so great. Yeah, like I said,
I feel like you're getting
I have
emotional again.
I'm gonna get emotional thinking about that. No lie.
Yeah, like I have a couple issues with the film and as a whole, which I'll discuss when I give my grade. But I don't know how you would probably do that scene better, like with the coordination between with the Peters, and
The three of them web slinging on top of the Captain America Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, so great, and Doc Ock coming in to help and all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so the movie, we get through all that. We get everybody sent back home, but there's one moment we have to mention because it's what brings home the entire theme of the movie, and that's where after they successfully do the spell, the only way to do it is for everybody to forget, including other multiverses, which is an interesting thing to think about. But everybody has to forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Absolutely everybody. There's no
This was
going
one
back.
of my issues with the film because the original spell was that people would not remember that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. But this spell he did was that everyone would forget Peter Parker.
Peter Parker.
This is where we start, like,
because of the multiverse threat, he
Yeah.
has to make a bigger spell.
Right.
So, because now everybody who remembers who Peter Parker is coming to them, so he's got to basically make everybody forget. But it's a different conversation for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works.
It's
everybody
tough.
everybody gets sent back. There's little emotional moments for Peter walking around to his friends and the other Peters to say
even
thank
Doctor
you,
Strange, by the
we
way,
miss
who
you.
we didn't even talk
Dr.
about,
Strange.
came back.
A good little.
Oh, he
good
was in the
little
Grand
moment.
Canyon for like.
I know, and he
Right.
goes, "Oh, Ned, you use your sling ring. Interesting."
Oh,
Future
little
thought.
cool thing. But the biggest thing is when after all of that works, Peter has his little note or has his little speech ready. He's gonna go tell his friends that, yeah, you don't remember me, but I'm Peter Parker, and we're awesome friends, and let's be friends. And then he stops. He sees that they're content and safe,
You
and he
still the
sees
band-aid,
the little bandage
band-aid.
on Zendaya, and he realizes that he and just him being
Again, eye
Spider-Man and
acting again. He did eyes,
them
eyes
right
only.
them knowing him is dangerous, and that for their safety he has to give up his happiness, their friendship, and and he ends going to a lonely apartment all alone. Nobody knows him. He's got no
Shades of the
handmaiden.
original Spider-Man,
Right,
Barry Brooks.
exactly. And
So
it's heart-wrenching to watch.
for a
What do you guys
second, I
think of
thought they were
this
gonna
movie?
have Ned and MJ as a couple in this after that, and
I
was,
did
Yeah,
too. I
that was
absolutely
mine
did for
too.
about
that was
half
That's
a
weird.
mine
second.
too. I'm glad they
Yeah,
didn't do that. No.
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
My
but
goodness.
it's a really important scene. It finalizes the idea that this poor character of Peter Parker is always alone,
Yeah.
and he's not going to be an Avenger because all the Avengers don't remember who he is.
Right, he's basically starting from scratch. So
But I like how it almost mimicked the original Spider-Man movie when he
Right.
moved, but
yeah,
he did it out of like the sense of wanting to find himself, whereas this one's wanting to more shelter himself from his friends and then start his own path. Yo, dude, this writing right there, man, it's just tremendous.
we just need the old Russian going. Where's my rent?
Was my rent? But there sounded like it was another dude saying rent's due first of the month. Don't
Yeah,
be
yeah, I
late.
heard that.
Yeah,
But yeah, they did a wonderful job.
And Brooks, the very first 2001, 2002 Spider-Man started with something like that.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like
Got
we
it.
came back to your point. Oh, this feels commercialized. They're just regurgitating all this back to us. And
Yeah.
this is where your point, I think, is a good discussion point. Like, do we feel like Sony basically like rebooted Spider-Man with Tom Holland to get us back to where it started with Tobey Maguire 20 years ago?
In a way, but they have to separate this MCU Spider-Man and their own Spider-Man where I mean, the idea of Iron Man Jr. and stuff like that, though I enjoyed this Spider-Man, I don't think it was just that. But I think to be able to send him off on his own to have his own adventures outside of the Avengers, because we all have been
Yes.
talking about, oh, is he going to lead the Young Avengers? No. After
No.
this, he's not leading the Young
No, he's not
Avengers.
leading that at all.
And I'm
So-
glad. Iron Spider has always been a crutch. Seemed like for me,
Mhm.
I never liked the suit. I always felt like he's got his powers and skills on his own. He never needed, instant kill mode. You know
But
what I mean?
he didn't want that. That was the point.
Yeah,
He didn't want that.
Yeah, so I never liked that, and I'm glad. Like at the end, he made his own suit when he came out swinging from
Classic.
the apartment. Yeah, so
Shiny Christmas style.
yeah, I'm glad. Like he'll probably wind up getting a job with
The Daily
Pizza
Bugle.
delivery.
with Jay Jonah, taking pictures and all that good stuff. So we're
Just
getting
like
to
the
that.
original movie, man.
Yeah,
It came full
except
circle.
no Aunt May this time. So
All right. Well, why don't we give grades and your last thoughts on the movie and how you felt it worked overall.
Woo!
So,
Brooks.
Brooksy, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah,
What was your
Brooks.
overall thoughts on this movie? How well it worked for
D
you?
for dandy.
And your
Okay.
grade, please.
All
F
right.
for fantastic.
So, no.
Fantastic Four.
Overall, I enjoyed the movie. I think with seeing it in 3D, it definitely made it a lot better for me just because, like I said, the visuals were outstanding. Like, what's his name? Hold on. Electro, that's his name, Jamie Foxx.
Mhm.
Electro. His character, like I wanted to see more of him just for the visuals because that was like the visuals were just amazing. At the end, I just could not get over the fact that I felt like a trick was being played on us. It was like, we figured out a way to make more money at your expense. That's just what I felt like, and I couldn't get over it. But to take in well, I guess you can't really take this alone, but um, you know, it was a very entertaining movie. I thought the writing was great overall. The beginning was pretty boring for me, but I got into it, um, and it like did what it was supposed to do, which was entertain me for 2.5 hours. Um, and so I will give this movie a solid B.
Ooh, nice.
So I
That's
feel like
great.
probably higher than you guys thought.
No,
But
no.
I will say that the 3D certainly added to that B.
We're gonna
Yes.
go, Mike.
All right, so I told you. So I basically had two issues with this movie, and it has nothing to do with acting, production, cast. It's with the storyline, and the one was the changing of the spell at the end, which you explained was necessary to stop the bigger threat. So that's fine. The other one was I'm really disappointed that we're not going to have Norman Osborn in this universe
Yeah, everybody went
at
home,
all, because I was kind of
including
looking
Venom.
forward to that.
Or
Yeah,
or Tom Hardy.
right, or Tom Hardy, but we'll see. We'll see. That's not ruled out for sure. But other than that, this movie gets an A for me. So I loved it from pretty much from beginning to end. And oh man, just great movie.
All right, all right. James.
So I knew I came out the woodworks with the early grade. A little recency bias. I'm not gonna lie. After hearing everyone here tonight, especially Brooks's part about the first part, I feel like I may want to dovetail my grade a little bit from A plus to a straight A. Um, and that's only because there was some flaws that I think they really could have fixed on the editing room. Cut out those 10 minutes in the beginning and tighten up some of the stuff in the final act, which would have given me like the end game or Infinity War A plus. But dude, I mean, we're like splitting hairs. Like A plus. This movie to me is definitely an A at the minimum, and can't wait to see it again with Keith. Here's Pete Keith on Sunday. We're gonna air out his initial reaction out of the movie theater before he goes to the men's room. Let you guys know what his thoughts.
All right. So for me, this is the more I think about it, the difficulty on this story specifically is really high, like a lot higher than I would have thought. They could have easily done a Craven's Last Hunt, or just like you just bring in Doc Ock, and he's got to fight a weird villain he's never faced before, blah blah blah. But they did something, a kind of Infinity War for the Spider-Man movies kind of thing, where they're like, look, we're going to bring in, not only are we going to manage Peter's lifestyle and his life and his friends and his family and all of that, and major emotional moments in there, but we're also going to bring in multiple other Spider-Men to teach Peter a lesson, and they're going to get their own lessons and blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to bring in 5 villains and we're going to give 2 of them big roles, and this was huge. And so the fact that they pulled it off really surprised the hell out of me. So I give them a lot of extra points and props for it. I thought there was a lot of muddling sometimes, a lot of times where they maybe could have cut, but I don't know. They did pull it off, and so I'm gonna go with an A minus.
Still
I
below
really.
Arcane though. Still below Arcane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
To be expected.
That wasn't gonna happen. The actual fight for me,
Jesus Christ.
this Arcane is still the number one.
There's no way Arcane was better than this movie.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But
anyway,
so just real quick, I just want to mention that one thing this movie did really well that a lot of movies fail to do when you have a movie with the hero with multiple villains, a lot of the times that movie has sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at like Batman Forever, Batman and Robin.
Every Batman after the first one, yeah.
Yeah. But even Toby 3.
Oh, all right. I got a point for Chris too.
But this one managed to make it work with multiple villains. I just found that those movies in the past with the multiple villains, they just didn't seem to know how to write that well or something.
Well, part of that here is that like the two of the villains who were important, the other ones were kind of throwaway villains, basically.
Right.
But the two villains were also interacting in interesting ways. They weren't
Yeah.
separately going after the hero and doing their own thing. They were interacting and part.
Yeah, they're like almost like not a team, but
Yeah, but the whole thing was all of them had character interactions, and they
Yeah, I think
all
that's why it worked. Yeah.
created a group thing rather than, hey, you've got the goblin over here and you've got Sandman over here and they're doing their own things.
they're all talking to each other. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Real quick, Chris, before we close this out, because we talked about this on our text, Heroes Peak text. Going back to DC Marvel, I think this Spider-Man movie did something very intrinsic to the character of Spider-Man as a hero, going through loss and loss and loss and rebounding, better than what the DC recent Henry Cavill as Superman could have done. And I went back and watched the old Superman movies with Christopher Reeve, who to me was like the Tobey Maguire of Superman, right? He was your OG dude that he was just fit for that role. He's an older actor and everything. And then Henry Cavill's a younger, more physically fit, the Tom Holland stuff. And I thought that Henry Cavill going towards Justice League movie, like he found his rhythm with playing Superman. But unfortunately, he had terrible writing for him by Zack Snyder and Chris Terrio and those guys. And he never had the same opportunities that Tom Holland did with, like, John Watts at MCU. And I think that Henry Cavill's Superman could have reached this version of what we're watching right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love watching The Witcher. Henry Cavill's been...
Yeah, like the dude can act. If only someone wrote him. Like, I don't know why we never did Man of Steel 2. We went straight to BBS. But there's a variant universe somewhere that they had a Man of Steel 2 or another movie with Henry Cavill as Superman that would have given us the same fucking feelings right now we're having for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
My last point on that. That's all.
That's a whole nother discussion. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our extended discussion of Spider-Man No Way Home. And
hope you enjoyed this 20-minute podcast.
That's right. Yes, 3-part, 5 minutes each.
That's right.
YouTube Shorts coming soon.
YouTube Shorts.
20 episode arc.
I'll fit the whole thing on an Insta reel.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Mike, where can they find us? And comment and tell us what they thought and why the Suicide Squad was equal to Spider-Man.
Yeah, first off, if you haven't seen this movie, go see it for sure.
Go see it. I'm surprised you haven't, because it looks like your money left your wallet anyway.
So, of course, we're on the internet at Heroes Peak, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Hit that bell in the corner to get notifications when our new shows are on the air, on the web.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Please leave comments. Please, please, please. Do not text. Leave comments.
Likes, stars, subscribe, do the whole thing. Anywhere and everywhere you listen.
And also share this. If you found something funny or interesting, share it with your friends.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Brooks. Thanks, James. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Good night.